Yeah, we're giving away. We have a trivia tonight, which we're giving away the Keith Geisner book, Discovering 6 Days. And what are you giving away tonight also?
I'm giving away for the viewer appreciation prize.
Yeah.
I'm giving away this.
Oh, grips? Okay. And you had something else I thought you wanted to do.
And then I'm giving away this awesome ruler.
Oh, yeah, these are nice from Motion Pro.
Yeah.
Okay.
These are very nice.
All right, this will be for the...
This is regular of inches and metric.
It converts metric to inches. I'll get into that in a minute. I got to go. I'm going to...
It's o'clock.
And we got Terry Good coming up, too.
Oh, okay. What time is he coming on?
Probably in about 20 minutes.
Okay. All right, go. You're good.
And, yeah.
I'm ready.
Good evening, everyone. You're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A. I am your host, Joe Abbate. We've got a great show lined up for you tonight. All your regular segment of What's It Worth, and next time try this. And here's the problem. We also have a special guest coming in live in about 15 or 20 minutes. Terry Good will be joining me with a couple of updates on the International Motocross Museum and also some of the events that are going on there. In the meantime, I want to thank my sponsors, Motion Pro, Preston Petty, the International Motocross Museum, Full Circle Racing, ReplicaMotorcycleParts.com, the Moto Barn, Vinco, Racer X, and of course, my dear friend who I owe a phone call to, Mike Chamberlain. Al Roof, thank you so much as well for your support. And we couldn't do it without Durf's Cycle Shop. Fred Hudgens just ordered a bunch of shirts for all the guys down at Durf's. And also, somebody's been sharing the show lately and doing a great job, helping us with product a little bit as well. That's Sean Gomes at FastGuysStuff.com. Don't forget, our man with a plan, Jerry Maddox, is on the road hitting some nationals for the ARMA events. We are proud to be helping out Jerry on the road, along with our friends like Remix, Amsoil, and so many others. In the meantime, I want you to keep sharing the show. Keep sharing the show, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube. And a little bit later on, we will have trivia, and we will be giving away a book just like this. In the meantime, my lovely hostess and bride of 38 years is here. Susie, what else are you giving away here tonight on the show?
I'm giving away grips.
Grips?
Yeah.
Who are they from?
They're from Preston Petty Products.
Mm-hmm.
And we're giving away a awesome...
Oh, well, these things are awesome.
Motion Pro ruler.
Very handy to have around the shop. We will give those away for the who gets closest on What's It Worth. And, and trivia for the 6-day book. In the meantime, I want you to keep sharing the show, and we are going to next time try this segment. And this is something we did a little while back, and I'm going to bring it to you again because I thought it was very, very helpful. So next time try this is brought to you by Vinco.com. Where's my video?
Where's your video?
Today, I want to talk to you about flywheel pullers. We've all been there in different situations. Sometimes this is the wrench you reach for when you really don't want to go over to your toolbox and reach for a wrench. And this, well, you've used it for a pry tool, and so have I. But when it comes to flywheel pullers, there really is no substitute. I want to talk to you today a little bit about that, how they work, what to look for, how they're going to prevent damage to your crankshaft and other parts of your engine, and why you should go out and get the right flywheel puller for the bike you own. The first thing I'd like to mention is to determine what type of flywheel or rotor you have. You may have one like this where the threads are external on the flywheel, or you may have one like this where the threads are internal. In either case, you're going to have to look for the right type of puller. This one has the threads internally. That is for your external thread flywheel. This one has the threads externally. That's what you're going to need to pull off a flywheel like this or a rotor that has the threads internally. Now, whether you have an external thread like that or an internal thread such as this one, the premise is the same. When you run this bolt in, this piece right here is going to hit the end of your crank. This section is attached to the flywheel itself, and it's going to pull itself off after you run down that bolt. Same one here. This is a little bit of a better quality puller. It's got threads on both sides, so you could use it in two different applications, but it's the same way. There's a little point here on the end of it. Many times on the end of your crank, you're going to have a little hole like that where that little tip sits, and you're going to spin it in, and it's going to put pressure against the crank, and this section is going to pull your rotor or flywheel off. Here's another example of a type of puller. It's a little more old-fashioned, and what you'd be looking for is, on your flywheel like this, there may be two holes that are threaded, and it's tapped in there. They're threaded, they're probably 8, maybe a 10mm hole. In that situation, again, you would just take this with the same premise. It would sit on your crank, but you would have two bolts. One bolt would go here, one bolt would go here. You tighten them up against your flywheel. You'd spin this center shaft, and it would pull up the flywheel or pull it off of the crank. Here's another example of a more generic puller. This type of a puller was sold in an auto parts store, and it can be used for removing a variety of different things, not just a flywheel, external or internal, but sometimes it can be used to pull bearings and things of that nature. This happens to be a 2-jaw chuck. Sometimes they come with 3, sometimes they come with 4. The problem is, many times this rotor is sitting inside your engine case, and these jaws will not be able to get behind an internal flywheel like this or internal rotor in order to get it off. So while this may be handy in some cases, it's not really that universal as you may think, and it may not work on your bike. So remember, the first thing you want to look for on your bike is, do you have an external flywheel? Do you have an internal rotor? Is it a left-hand thread or is it a right-hand thread? You may need to go online or go to your manual to figure out exactly what you have. Then go to a reputable company, Vinco is a great one, and get yourself the correct flywheel puller or internal rotor removing tool that you need for your bike.
I'm Brock Glover, and you're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A, and we'll be right back.
Vinco, who already has a full line of vintage parts, now has air shocks that are an exact duplicate of the original air shocks so popular in the late 70s. So whether you're looking to build a full racer or museum showpiece, these shocks will give you that incredible 70s look and improve your bike's performance. These new air shocks are fully rebuildable with Vinco rebuild kits, and all shocks are hand assembled in the USA with all new components. Every component is brand new. Just like the originals, our air shocks are adjustable with 2 chambers, high and low pressure, giving you tremendous flexibility for settings of your bike suspension. The Vinco air shocks come fully assembled and ready for installation. Just add air or nitrogen. The kits include the manual and spacers. Visit Vinco.com to check out the air shocks and all that Vinco has to offer to help you get back on track and keep that ride going.
Yeah, be sure to check out Vinco online, Vinco.com. They've got rod kits for all of your Suzukis, 100cc, 125s, 250s, and they've got over 900 products in their catalog, from petcocks to pegs to custom-made triple clamps. Vinco. Keep the ride going. In the Moto Showcase tonight, which is brought to you by Preston Petty Products, we take a look at a 1981 Yamaha YZ250 that was sent in to us by Tyler McGregor. Preston Petty Products, of course, bringing you all those great fenders we loved since the 1970s. Tyler McGregor writes, hello, Joe. Here are some photos of my rebuild. I probably sent you too many, but this is one you can pick and choose from what you'd really like. Sorry, I have so many to choose from. Let me know when it will be on the show. Well, you know at this point, Tyler, that it is on right now. And I found this bike, says Tyler, in a farmer's field up in Canada, where it sat for 7 to 10 years. And it was in all the elements that you can imagine. I traded it for a 30-pack of beer. I knew I had to save it. Some stuff is original on most of the bikes. Some of it I bought NOS, and some I just chose to restore, and some of it may not be OEM. I did as close as I can to a 100% restoration. Here's a list of some of the items that I did on the bike. And Tyler goes on to tell me about washer pistons, OEM gaskets, Boysen reeds, Racerfish billet clutch baskets, OEM swing arm Racerfish hardware, ODI grips, fly racing bars, Full Circle Racing rims. Thank you for supporting our good friend Tom McAllister at Full Circle Racing. Buchanan spokes, which I'm sure you can get from Tom as well. Got a beautiful pipe on there, and that came from, well, I can't really see it on my screen. LED, it looks like. Anyway, you got DC plastics and a whole lot more, including an NOS filter cage, fly racing bars, and so many other things here on this beautiful bike. Tyler McGregor, he's a young man. He's just started to take an interest in vintage motocross, and he's decided to take on some projects like this. We're so very happy to hear him on the show, and we're also happy to have him purchasing shirts from us as well. Tyler McGregor, great job. And if there's something else I can send you, you know what I'm going to send you? You're in Canada. It's a little expensive to ship up there, but you know what we just started making too? Koozies. Koozies like this. You fit a nice bottle of beer in there or some 12-ounce cans. Susie's making them right in the house. Comes with the logo on both sides. Also, if you want those and you want it with your name on it or your company, we can do that too. If you just want the Vintage Motocross Q&A logo, I'd be happy to send you one of those. So, Tyler, I am going to send you at least one or two of those so you can put your Molson in there and enjoy it nice and cold, eh? Thanks for sending in that bike. And what do we got coming up next? Oh, I need new contact lenses. We're going to run the International Motocross Museum commercial. Then we're going to be back with Jeff Kokoski's Did You Know? Jeff Kokoski, Did You Know? Coming up.
Motocross struck America, coming from Europe like a lightning bolt, striking the hearts and minds of people all across the country and the world. Battles of intense racing and cutting rivalries with loyalty to brands and heroes intensified as years of blood, sweat, and dirt flew through the minds of those memories of champions as they wrestled their machines through almost impossible tracks. But where are those past champions? And where are their bikes? Terry Good, an ex-pro motocross racer, has made it his life mission to honor these heroes and the bikes they rode to stardom. We raced, we rode, we lived and breathed motocross. Go back in time and relive those moments, now preserved for the first time ever in the world's first museum dedicated to the history of motocross. Our new building is in the gate. Help us get a great start and you can be part of history. Go to internationalmotocrossmuseum.org and become a part of our team.
Is this beautiful Roger DeCoster poster. This is hot off the press. Terry just took this picture, I think about a week and a half ago. It's already been sent in to be made a beautiful poster like this. This is the bike that belonged to the man in his last race in Luxembourg that he won before retiring permanently from motocross. You're going to want to get one of those if you are a Roger DeCoster fan and are collecting stuff from the International Motocross Museum, which is a what? 501c3 not-for-profit organization. Next up, as I promised you, is the Jeff Kokoski segment. And I call it the Jeff Kokoski segment because he's been sending in to us stuff every week. And I just realized I never had a picture of Jeff on the show. There he is, Jeff Kokoski. And he puts a thing together for us every week, and it is called Did You Know? With some quite interesting information that we go through here and explain to you what's happening in different parts of the motocross world through history. Jeff's thing this week happens to be about Scott goggles. Now, this one, I didn't realize it was going to turn up like that on the screen. This one is a little in depth, even for Jeffrey, and we're going to have most of it here on the show right now. But if you go over to the Vintage Motocross Q&A page after I get the show done tonight, you'll be able to read it in its entirety, all about the Scott Company and how things went on there. In the meantime, Jeff said, if you rode a motocross bike in the 70s or 80s, you probably own a pair of Scott goggles. But did you know the history of Scott? They did not start out as an MX goggle company, and their direct connection to goggles took some time. In 1958, an engineer and skier from Sun Valley, Idaho, named Ed Scott, developed aluminum skiing poles. At the time, most ski poles were made of bamboo or mild steel, which broke easily and they were quite heavy. But the lightweight and strength of aluminum proved to be a game changer for skiers. By 1970, Ed Scott purchased patents and manufactured rights and started making his own ski boots. But the boots and designs were flawed and it needed to have some serious re-engineering. Scott hired Charlie French to redesign the boots. French was a lifelong surfer and skier, and he was a 44-year-old aerospace engineer who recently moved to Idaho because he enjoyed skiing so much. The two worked together, came up with a double-paned, heat-sealed goggle lens that would end up not fogging. I'm sorry, I put the wrong picture up. But anyway, there it is, and you all know what Scott goggles look like. Meanwhile, French and his design team in the USA had perfected their ski boot design, calling it the Scott Super Light. The new plastic boot was much lighter and more responsive to the skier, and it was different than anything else was on the market. Scott didn't have the tooling to make goggles, so presumably they used Charlie French's connection to Bob Smith. Meanwhile, while working on Scott goggles, the motocross craze had swept the nation, causing Scott to pivot slightly. In 1970, they created the first ever motocross-specific goggle. There you have it right there. As Scott's involvement in motocross began to grow, they began to develop arguably one of the most famous motocross boots ever, and we see it right here. Everyone was wearing open-face helmets at the time. They started wearing Scott goggles like this, and it wasn't soon later where people like Garrett Walsink, Bob Hanna, and several others were asked to wear this boot right here, and we all recognize it from, of course, the Moto Wars in the 1970s and 1980s. Once Hanna had him on his feet, they became very, very popular. Scott still was a huge player and still is a huge player in the game and continues to make boots and different goggles today. They even reintroduced their 89 goggle, the Scott 89, which is a very, very popular goggle in the 1980s. And they'll have it available. They'll have that available and so many other things at Scott. I will have the entire article posted on the Vintage Motocross Q&A page a little bit later on. Here's a trivia for you. This has no prizes. I just discovered this when I was working on this segment and putting some pictures together. This is the original Scott goggle box. Remember that? Probably got goggles for Christmas. 1974, 75. It came in a box just like that. Whose image is on that box riding that bike? Susie, keep an eye out there. Who can guess whose image is that on that Scott box? Let me know. Anyway, we've got the What's It Worth segment coming up next. Was I going to run a commercial here? No, we ran the IMM commercial, and we're going to move right on right here with the What's It Worth segment. What's It Worth segment is brought to you by
James Lopez.
who?
He says Weinberg.
You means Weiner?
I don't know.
No, it's not Weiner, but you are on the right train, but the wrong track.
Brad?
It is. It is Brad Lackey. That's who it is on that box.
Nasal Rod said Brad. Pete Hansen said Brad. George Ackerman said Brad.
Well, that's who it is, guys. You all got it right. That is Brad Lackey's image on that box. He was paid millions from Scott. Not really. He wasn't paid anything from Scott. And we had a conversation about that over a nice bottle of Cabernet one night. I'll tell you about it someday. Anyway, we're back to this. What's It Worth? Brought to you by Full Circle Racing. And in tonight's What's It Worth segment, we are giving away. Susie, what are we giving away? Tell the crowd what we're giving away as a gift tonight.
For what? Viewer appreciation gift?
No, not the viewer appreciation. That's for the
Oh, we are giving away.
that's random. That's viewer appreciation. We're giving this away. Who could get closest to the price? What is it?
It is a ruler from Motion Pro.
Right. There you go. Ruler from Motion Pro.
Yeah.
Let's get on with. Maybe you can get those dogs. Can you hear the dogs? I hope not.
Don't pay attention.
Anyway, we're going to go on with the What's It Worth segment, and Terry Good's going to be here in just a couple of minutes. The What's It Worth segment is brought to you by Full Circle Racing. I can tell you that this is a 1974 OSA. It was sold May 11, 2024 in North Carolina. I got this information from Bring a Trailer. Okay. The equipment includes an aluminum swing arm. Okay. A Bing carburetor, an expansion chamber, and a chrome cross-braced handlebar. The Phantom is acquired by the seller in 2015, and it is offered now at no reserve from North Carolina. It has an off-road use only paperwork that comes with it. The fiberglass gas tank on it is beautiful. The fenders have been refinished in blue and orange with the white stripe. They are mounted over a black finished double down tube frame. Again, the description on these articles from Bring a Trailer leave a little bit to be desired, but there's always nice pictures. Acron front spoke wheels measuring 21 inch at the rear. We have an 18-inch rear mounted with a period correct Pirelli MT tire. Suspension consists of conventional fork as well as dual shock mounted to the aluminum swing arm, which is said to be featured on an early production example. Braking is from drum brakes at both ends. 240cc, two-stroke single with a factory-rated 33 horsepower is what they have, and is attached to a Bing carburetor. It has a left side kickstarter, has a black finished powder-coated frame. Power is sent to the rear wheel by a 5-speed transmission. And there you have it. It is a really beautiful bike, very well done. The bike is, of course, far better than what the description is given to us here. But after all that information, can somebody tell us what they think this bike recently sold for? $2,500? $4,500? This bike sold for a whole lot more than that. $9,800. $9,800. Susie, tell me who went closest to $9,800 without going over.
Wow. Pete Hall.
Pete Hall?
$9,800.
Pete Hall, you are tonight's winner of this very, very useful plastic. You can't really call it a ruler because it's so much more. It's got inches, it's got millimeters, it's got different hole sizes down here.
Wait a minute. Derek Collier.
I thought it was Pete Hall.
Oh, no, sorry. He said 78.
No. Pete Hall, 9,800.
98. Yeah.
Pete Hall, you're getting one of these right here. Compliments of Motion Pro and Vintage Motocross Q&A. As promised, Terry Good is here, and I think I'm going to bring him in. Right now. Terry Good.
Hey,
Thank you for joining us this evening.
how do you like the swag?
Hey, very, very nice, Terry. Very, very nice. Let me see how I can do this now. There you go. Terry, thank you for wearing it. And in turn, I, of course, am wearing the International Motocross Museum shirt.
Nice. Very nice.
Terry, thank you for coming on at such short notice. I saw a couple of things pop up on the International Motocross Museum site today, and I wanted you to kind of share it with the fans here and, of course, all the people that watch the show from the International Motocross Museum. The first thing that came up was this, Terry. Beautiful picture of Roger's bike from 1980. Tell us about that, where the picture was taken, why this bike is so special.
Well, that was Roger's bike. That's the actual bike that he used in the 1980 season, and he won the last race that year in Luxembourg. He went 1-1 to win the overall. And the interesting thing about that is he really wanted to, I've talked to him and both Dave Arnold, who was his mechanic, quite a bit about that whole season. And Roger really wanted to win that race. He drove there from Belgium with Dave, and he just wanted to win it, and he wanted to build some momentum going into 1981. And so they had the story developing that year is just incredible. I just spent a few hours with Dave Arnold on the phone a few weeks ago about it, and what they went through and what Dave went through. Roger really pushed them. And, So anyway, the bike was fully developed. It was just unbelievable. They say it was a great bike, a good bike when they got it. It was about a 450, and then it ended up being a 476 by the time the season was over. And that was the first year of the Pro Link, the single shock.
Mhm.
And so there was a lot of development that went on, and a lot of behind the scenes characters that were involved in all that. Many are very famous, Kent O'Lean, Bruce Burness, who a lot of people might not know, but he was just a genius. And he worked with Valentino Ribbi on the Ribbi
Right.
suspension. So anyway, there was a lot that
Okay.
went on that year. And that bike, when Roger won the race, the second moto, he went up and popped the champagne and, all of that. And then just out of nowhere, he looked over the crowd. Everyone was going crazy and just happy to see him win. He's the man,
Sure.
and he decided right then and there, had not even a centennial of idea that he would retire. And on the podium, he made the announcement that was his last race. In fact, when he went back to the pits, Dave was, loading everything up, and they had an engagement in England the next week or 2 weeks later, and they even canceled that. And so that was it for him. And this is that bike. And
So that was Roger's last ride on this bike, and there were races after that he did not ride in that season.
That's right.
He stopped right there.
Stopped right there. They were supposed to go. I don't know if it was a Des Nations or some kind of a big international race, but he was scheduled to be, and I think it might have been Farley Castle. I'm not sure. But he
Right.
was scheduled to be there, and Dave was really looking forward to going there because he'd never been, and that was it. It was over. And so what happened is they were running the Grand Prix team out of Roger's house in Tremolo instead of at the Honda, in Belgium,
Right.
on the other side of Brussels. And so Roger had Dave prep the bike for another GP, and it was essentially put away. I mean, it is exactly as I haven't touched it except,
So now you have immortalized this bike in this poster, which is now available at internationalmotocrossmuseum.org. And this bike is in the International Motocross Museum collection, is it not?
That's right. And all of Roger's gear, his helmets, boots, jerseys, leathers, everything.
Right.
That shot, I really wanted to capture that shot. I drove around for a few days around where I live here, and I had all kinds of ideas, and I just wanted that shot to be really special. And I saw this wetlands with this wooded, you can see there's no vegetation. All those trees are dead pretty much. And so my wife and I, Cindy, we pushed that thing back in there, and we had a whole lighting set up in there, and we spent a lot of time getting that thing to pop, And the reason I wanted that background is it kind of mesmerizes you, and you think of all he's done from the CZ. Well, there's trophies right behind me of his from '62, so that's 18 years, and then all of a sudden it ends with that. And so I just wanted to kind of have an emotional feel to that shot. And we really worked a lot on it. We got it, the lighting just right, everything. That it's so clear. The real image is just, you're almost like you feel like you're in the same airspace.
Well, if it's anything like the other posters that you've made from the International Motocross Museum, I'm sure it's going to be fabulous. The quality of the stock of the paper, I mean, you almost can't even call it paper. It doesn't feel like anything else I've ever felt before in a poster. And when will these be ready, Terry? Did they just go to print now?
Yeah, and they'll be shipping them within a couple days here, and we've got 100 of them coming here. And I put it on our website or just a little while ago, and they've been selling. So if any fan of Rogers, and this time we did not put his signature on it. So
Okay.
if you buy one and you go to a national or something, or you see him, you can have him personally sign it to you. So that was kind of neat. But this is one of my better pieces of work, I think.
I think so.
Yeah.
You've also put up another post today, and it looks well. Here it is, right here, and I have one here. It's the thumb drive, Terry, of the first Night of Champions that you had at Pinstripes in Chicago. And this is well, let me put it this way. See, I have one right here, okay? And for those that are listening for the first time, of course, Terry knows this. Terry has said to me, Joe, you can go on the International Motocross Museum page at any time, use whatever you want. If you want to have me on the show to explain anything, I'd be happy to do that. But there's one thing that Terry said, do not show to anybody, and that was this thumb drive and anything that was on it. It truly is special. They are now available for the public. This is not something you want to miss if you were not at the first fundraiser. Terry, how many people are on this? How did this come about? It had to take a while to put this thing together. It's edited. It's spectacular.
Yeah. We actually, Dave Arnold was back here at my house, and when we first announced that, and that was right before the China virus hit.
Uh-huh.
Okay. We were in January or early February, I forget what, but we had decided to do that, and we put a little ad on the website, and God, we sold so many tickets right away. And then that bioweapon, that's what I call it.
Yeah.
Anyway, then that thing hit, and it postponed us for 2 years. And we had Gunnar Lindstrom and Dave Arnold, their wives. We were all working on this thing so hard to make it special, because I don't do anything unless it's first class. I can tell you that right now. And
I know firsthand, Terry.
Yeah. So we worked really hard, but we got delayed for 2 years, and I bought all these air tickets, and none of them could get in the country. It was just a disaster. Mm-hmm. And I was kind of nervous. Is this thing even going to turn out? And people came, and we had 400 or 500 people there. And I had a full film crew there filming it with different camera angles, everything. And you watch this, and you will be nothing like this has ever been done to this level. And it's absolutely, you could have this on television tonight. This
right here. I was just going to say, Terry, this right here, you could plug into a computer in a television studio, and you would have an absolutely amazing show. The quality, the audio, the people you have speaking, from Roger DeCoster to Ricky Johnson, Garrett Walsh, so many people that you have captured on this. And how much is this? How much does this cost right now, Terry, if someone wanted to buy it?
I think it's $39 maybe, or $35, somewhere in there. It's
$39.
Buy it.
It's absolutely amazing. I've watched it several times. That's available at the International Motocross Museum.org. While I have you here, Terry, there was something else. Oh, you wrote a book, Legendary Motocross Racers. This is it right here?
Yes. Okay.
I understand you've lost your mind and you're going to write another book. Is that true?
Yeah. I write these columns, and the only reason I do this is to get the word out about the museum. Mm-hmm. I write these columns for MX Motocross Action, which is I really like the people there, and I've known them for a long time. And then the VMX guys in Australia. And Jody's got this classic iron thing that him and Tom White started years ago. Now Tom White is gone, and so they ran out of his stuff, and Jody, anyway, we made an agreement, and so I write for them, but I'm only allowed 500 words about there. And then with the VMX thing, they wanted more words and more pages, but it still isn't enough. And so as I was talking to Dave about this Honda, that's going to be in the next VMX, by the way.
Okay.
DeCoster Honda. I told Dave, because Dave helped me a little bit with the last book. he wrote the foreword to it. And Dave and I have known each other a long time, and we kind of see the sport through the same set of eyes. So I said, you know something, let's you and I just write another book. And so we're going to do that. And instead of the last one where Motor Books owned that, they paid me to do it, but they cut it way down. It was only 20 bikes. Dave and I, I'm going to fund it, and we'll just do whatever it takes. Kind of like
how many do you think will be in the new book?
I don't know. I'm afraid to say, but it'll be a lot, and there'll be so much information. Much information and photographs, things torn apart, and it'll be, my legacy maybe is in the print world.
All right, Terry, I've got one more question for you. Then I'm going to let you go. For people who go over to the International Motocross Museum Facebook page each day, or you go on their website, you will see that Terry has posted something about not a fundraiser this time, but a special closed-door party for people who have donated to the museum. And this is going to happen in the building where the museum will be. Terry, tell us a little bit more about that.
Okay, so we have to raise an awful lot of money. In the meantime, we have tons of expenses, and you know a lot about this, Joe, since you're on. I do. Team. Yeah. So we're always trying to be creative and figure way, selling posters. All of that goes towards, the museum, and so we take cash donations. And the economy's kind of tough right now. It's not so good, right? You got inflation. Right. It's just a disaster. For the dollar's lost 20% of its purchasing power in the last 3.5 years. There's a lot wrong. And so, if you can't, donate, if you could donate $5, $10, we've had donations in the thousands, for people that can. So we're going to have a party, an event, and I'm going to try and bring Håkan Anderson and maybe a couple other guys over for it. And we're going to have most of the bikes there. And this is just so all the people that didn't go to the fundraisers, they have a chance to see the bikes. They're helping us out immensely, and we appreciate every dollar. And it's just a way of letting people, a lot of people are saying, hey, how about IMM3 and all that? Well, that's a lot of work. And so we're going to do this. And we have a list on those posts, and it's getting kind of full. To be honest with you, I'm going to end it pretty soon because there's 350 going on 400 people on it right now. And the idea is to have it at the building. If not, it'll be somewhere close. But we plan on having almost all the bikes there. Okay. And, it'll be a really cool event. That I promise.
Terry Good, International Motocross Museum. Follow his columns in Motocross Action and VMX. You can be a donor to the International Motocross Museum, which is a not-for-profit 501c3 organization. You can get posters, hats, and clocks. There's a little bit of something for everything, including this new little guy right here, the thumb drive of the first event. Terry Good, thank you so much for joining me this evening. And I'm sure I will see you perhaps in another Zoom meeting this week or on a telephone conversation sometime very soon.
Exactly. Everybody buy one of Joe's shirts, huh?
Thanks, Terry. Thanks so much.
See you later.
We'll see you next time.
All right.
Terry Good, what a great guy, and doing so much to help build a legacy and the history, keep the history alive of the sport of vintage motocross and motocross in general. I'm going to take a little break right here. We're going to come back. We've got stuff to give away yet. We've got trivia coming up. In fact, you know what? Here's what I'm going to do. Because I'm going to do it right now, I think.
The trivia?
Yeah, we're going to do the trivia right now. Everybody ready to go? Trivia is really interesting tonight, and I'll tell you why. Because I actually took a question from Roy Vanderveer and put it on the show. What motorcycle brand marketed their bikes with having 100 cubic clams? What motorcycle brand marketed their bikes with having 100 cubic clams? This, of course, is a call-in contest. Call Susie at area code 925-784-2195. That's area code 925-234-8181. 925-234-8181. I was giving you my phone number by accident. Call in now. Who is the company that marketed their bikes with having 100 cubic clams? We'll be right back with more Vintage Motocross Q&A.
Hi, I'm Warren Reed. You're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A. We'll be right back.
Hey, it's Joe Abbate for Vintage Motocross Q&A. One of my favorite tools from Motion Pro is their T-handle wrench with the special JIS tips on it. What I really like about it is there's a little opening on each end. You can put your tip in there. It's magnetic. You don't have to worry about losing it. This is a great item to have, especially for you vintage guys, where you've got your screws, with JIS screws in the cases. They're very, very hard to get out. Nothing gives you more torque and better grip than a T-handle wrench. Get over to motionpro.com or see your local dealer. Don't forget, go to Vintage Motocross Q&A for a 20% discount on all Motion Pro tools. You don't have to go over to Motion Pro. You don't have to go over to Vintage Motocross Q&A. You can just go over to Motion Pro, and when you check out, put in MP9135. That's MP9135, and you will get 20% off across the board at Motion Pro on everything except custom-made cables. Have you ever heard of a Maserati? Sure, you've heard of a Maserati and you're thinking about a car, but did you know Maserati made motorcycles too? Fabbrica Candela Accumulatore Maserati. That's in 1947 in Modena. It was an Italian manufacturer of motoring components, spark plugs, and accumulators. They also made mopeds and little motorcycles as well. The sister, Ida Orsi, received over the component branch that was not doing well at that time. And by purchasing the Bologna-based motorcycle manufacturer Idlemoto in 1953, the company entered a new market and sold well locally. They also exported little mopeds and small motorcycles to South Africa, Europe, and North America. The products were allowed to continue in the well-known Maserati name and the company's Trident trademark. It was all going pretty well over there. Maserati motorcycles were produced in 125, 160, 175, and 250cc models. There were two-stroke and four-stroke as well. Maserati mopeds were offered in 50cc through 75cc versions. Production ended, unfortunately, due to increased competition from other manufacturers. And that was the end of Maserati at that time. But they did make one beautiful motorcycle for several years there. And it appears that we now have on the line somebody who thinks they know the answer to the trivia question, and I'll put it up on the screen one more time. Who was it that stated, wait a minute. First of all, who am I speaking to?
Doctor.
Mike McCook, a good friend who I don't get to speak to on the phone very often, just about nonsense, but he calls in for the show. Mike, it's so wonderful to have you here. And the question was sent in by Roy Vanderveer. What motorcycle brand marketed their bikes with having 100 cubic clams, Mike?
Oh, my good friend Roy. I love Roy. The answer is Hodaka.
It is Hodaka. There it is on the Dirt Squirt. 100 cubic clams. Mike McCook, we're going to get you a Motion Pro, this handy measuring device. It's got millimeters. It's got inches. It's got a little bit of something for everything. And it's great to have it hanging up in your shop. You'll be surprised how much use you get out of this. Now, Mike, I got to continue on with the show. But let's get a call together tomorrow and we'll catch up. Okay, brother?
Yes.
All
absolutely,
right.
Doctor. I love you. Great show. And carry on.
I'm doing the best I can, Mike. All right. Susie's going to get your address and I'm going to continue on with the show. Thanks for calling in. And the answer was, of course, Hodaka. Mike McCook.
Hold on 1 second.
Oh, what do we got coming up next here on the show tonight? You know, I have to make these little charts for myself because I can't run the Motion Pro commercial. I already ran the Motion Pro commercial. Let's get right into This Week in Motocross History. This Week in Motocross History is brought to you by Racer X Magazine. Available on your newsstand and online now. 1973, Gary Jones got Honda's first major motocross win when he won the 250 National at Amelia Earhart Raceway in Hialeah, Florida. Jones, the defending AMA 250 National champion, was hired away from Yamaha by the company in hopes that he and his brother Dwayne could get the new CR250M Elsinore in the winner's circle right away. It took just 3 races for Gary to win, with fellow Honda teammate Marty Tripe second and Dwayne fourth. 1974, Russian KTM rider Gennady Moiseev went 1-1 at the 250 Grand Prix in Poland, with Belgium's Gaston Rayer second and German's Hans Maisch third. American rider Jim Pomeroy, coming off the third from the previous week in Czech Republic, failed to score any points in Poland, Moiseev's primary rival for the title. The Czech rider Jaroslav Falta also failed to score any points in Poland, allowing the Russian to take over the points lead. Along with that and a little cheating in Austria at the end, Moiseev became champion. I made that up. That is not written in any books. 1984, it's a 3-division Bel-Ray AMA Motocross National at Six Flags theme park outside Atlanta, promoted by legendary Southeast promoter King Kelly. And it's a Honda sweep. The 250 class was won by Team Honda's Ron Lachine, with Georgia's own Billy Lyle second and Yamaha Rick Johnson in third. With some controversy, Johnson finished second in the first moto, but was later docked 1 full lap, knocking him back to 8th for taking a line outside the racetrack. He won the second moto and would have won the overall that day if not for the penalty. And that's what was happening in motocross history. And that was this week, May, in 1973, 74, and 1984. Now it's time for us to get down to the finish line. The finish line is brought to you by ReplicaMotorcycleParts.com. Our good friend and supporter, Paul Parkinson Sr., who's been making some amazing strides with parts that he has been reproducing, absolutely incredible stuff. And some of it's behind me here on the set, whether it's your chain guides, air filter cages, rubber parts, hard rubber parts like chain rollers, and including soft rubber parts like intake manifolds and air boots, along with kickstarters and so much more. Now Paul has moved on to making gears, lay shafts, primary shafts. And on next week's show, I promise to have here a video showing the process of how printing works, how 3D printing works when making metal parts. It's going to be great. You don't want to miss next week's show. In the meantime, I want to thank Paul Parkinson for supplying some great products to us. We've got some, where are they? They're back here by that Honda tank over this shoulder, my left shoulder. Or would it be my right shoulder on the thing? Either way, Paul Parkinson Sr. making some great products for all of us here in the motocross world. What else we got going on? Oh, we got shirts for sale, like the one I have on right now. We also have T-shirts, hoodies, and we can make shirts in any style, any color. We have shirts starting at just $20 all the way up to 5X for your hoodies. Come at some great prices too. They start at $20. They go up to $60. What else we have happening here? We need Susie back on the set to tell us who this week's viewer appreciation is. So why don't we do this? Why don't we take a little commercial break again?
Hi, I'm Sue Fish. You are watching Vintage Motocross Q&A. We'll be right back.
Hey, it's Joe Abbate for Vintage Motocross Q&A. When you're replacing a cylinder or a gasket or doing a top end on your bike, many times it's very, very difficult to get to the nuts that are on the base. And you want to be sure that you torque those evenly whenever you change a top end. Motion Pro has come up with this great tool. It's the torque adapter, okay? You can put any size wrench in there and you can tighten it up. On the back is a 3/8 drive. You can put your torque wrench in there, get the wrench on the nut that's on the base of your cylinder, and make sure everything is torqued evenly. This is a great tool. I have one in the shop. We use it all the time. It comes with instructions as well. Go see your local dealer or get to motionpro.com. And don't forget, go over to Vintage Motocross Q&A to get a 20% discount on all Motion Pro tools. tell me who it is in just a minute. Susie's back. I made a little mistake in the last segment. Mike McCook called in. He had the right answer. It was Hodaka, who marketed their bikes as having 100 clams. Mike does not win this ruler from Motion Pro. Mike gets this beautiful book, compliments of Keith Geisner, Discovering 6 Days, okay? And when we do the trivia thing and we have someone call in, they call in on Susie's phone. At this point, we are not going to have Susie back on live. Susie, why don't you... Can you do it?
Yeah.
All right, you hook it back up. And in the meantime...
There I am.
In the meantime, I'll let you back in. You want to put that back in the holder?
Adorable as ever.
Can you do that?
Yes, I can.
Here, let me help. You got it?
I got it, Joe. Relax. I'm good.
All right. Sit down in your little seat over there.
Good?
It looks good. I'm going to let you back in the studio. Susie has now been added to the stage. There she is, as glorious and glamorous as ever. Susie,
Yes.
this week's Viewer Appreciation Prize, which is what, Sue? Set of grips, compliments.
Compliments of PrestonPettyProducts.com. Be sure to visit them online.
Who have you chosen as this week's Viewer Appreciation winner?
I have chosen Jay Gelosi.
Jay Gelosi. Jay Gelosi, you are this week's winner of a beautiful set of grips, compliments of PrestonPettyProducts.com. Susie, great job.
Thank you.
So we've got,
This is for Jay Hall.
right, Jay Hall gets a ruler. Mike McCook gets a book.
And
Jay Gelosi gets a set of grips. We are just giving the joint away.
yes.
Susie, go get Gino because I can't talk anymore. This is the end of the show. I want to thank all of our sponsors, including Durfs, including Mike, including Durf Cycle Shop, Fred Hudgens. I want to thank Mike Chamberlain, Al Roof, everybody who helps us all here at Vintage Motocross Q&A. In the meantime, that's it for me. Gino, come on, boy. Oh, boy. Gino's here.
Big mouth.
There he is. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Thank you, Terry Good. Be sure to support our sponsor, the International Motocross Museum. We will see you next time on Vintage Motocross Q&A. Yes, Gino. Yes, yes, yes. Hey, Gino, I can't find the button yet, Hambone.
Handball.
Here we go. End credits. See you next time.